Everybody in life has some form of passion, be it over their career or favorite pastime. And then we can go even further down and break that passion into what specific genre we're passionate about. Whether it be sports, what type? Do we like basketball, football, golf, or something completely out of the box like polo? If we like video games, we have different genres to choose from. FPS, Battle Royale, Survival, Strategy, RTS, MOBAs, City Building. We have a whole list of things. And over time, we will develop a list of favorite games, and there might even be one specific game that will stand above the rest to us. That game, we might think, will never get old. And you might play it for a period of several years, and absolutely adore it and love every second of it. However, in most cases, there will come a point in time where even your most favorite games become strenuous. Where instead of the effort that you put into it to normally play the game, it feels like effort to play it. Instead of it being the effort you're willing to put into it to have fun, it becomes more of a chore to play. Where you've become tired of it. And at that point, you start questioning, should I continue playing this game? You have the fond memories of it, you have in mind what it should be, but your current experience isn't matching that idea of what it should be. This is what we refer to as burnout. And tonight, I'm going to be talking about burnout in detail, and my own experiences with it, as well as a few methods to counter it. Or at least prolong your experience with the games you love before you encounter burnout, or to prolong the potential inevitability of burnout. Hey, what's going on, geeks? Maxusthebeast is here, and welcome back to another conversation about burnout. Now, as this prologue has suggested, burnout can happen to even our most beloved games. And that's not really a fun thing to experience. It's not fun when we have a normally pleasurable experience ripped from us by our own subconscious, or even by our own preferences. Where it's a good idea sometimes just to take a breather and think about what's going on. You know, burnout will happen eventually. It could be after a few weeks, after a few months, or heck, even after a few years. I mean, if you tuned into my video talking about Minecraft a couple weeks ago, or sorry, last week, my sense of days is all over the place. But if you tuned into that, you'll find that I played the game for 4 or 5 years before I grew tired of it and moved on to something different. Dominantly. So it could take you a long period of time to ever reach the point of burnout. But you might be saying, well, what are you supposed to do about that? And how can you relate to what's going on here? I can. Let's go into a more recent example, shall we? Sea of Thieves. A game I've been meaning to talk about in detail for a while, actually. But over the past few weeks, and dominantly the entirety of the month of June, I've fallen in love with this game. There's just so much to see and do, and it's an absolutely beautiful world to explore. And it's helped me discover and rekindle my immense love of underwater or ocean exploration games like this or Subnautica, but it also taught me that I had a strange love of sailing. So who would have thought that? However, over the course of a handful of weeks, I put in 51 hours into Sea of Thieves, which might not sound like much. I know there are a plethora of people who have much more time invested in the game than I do, especially since I've joined relatively late into the game's lifespan, even though the game has shown no signs of slowing down. But I've really gotten hooked to the game. However, it's gotten to the point now where even after only a handful of weeks, I've reached a period of burnout. While I still love the game and definitely plan on returning to it in the near future, actually, I, right now, don't really feel like playing the game. So, what happened to me? Because maybe if I share my story, it might help some of you identify what may be going on with your own cases. Sea of Thieves offers a lot to do. There are skeleton forts to raid, the Fort of the Damned to work your way to by collecting all the different death lanterns and customizing and collecting a rare ritual skull. You can also customize your ship using the colored fire to make it look really pretty at nighttime. It's like a frickin' 4th of July special. There's krakens and megalodons to get ambushed by and defend yourself against, as well as skeleton ships. There's the wide world of PvP, which is always exciting. And there are plenty of islands to explore and secrets to find, as well as a pretty decent story. So with all this content and all these things to do, how could I get bored or tired, especially after such a short period of time, being only a couple weeks? Well, here's what I think's happening with me. You see, I play the game non-stop, a term I like to refer to as no-lifing, where the only game I play is this specific game. And Sea of Thieves isn't the first game I've done this with. Skyrim, the Fallout games in general, switching between 4, 3, New Vegas, and 76, Red Dead 2, GTA, PUBG, Fortnite, just to name a few, where that was the only game I could think about and would actually touch. So, after a while of that though, that same experience gets old, where you feel like you might have seen or done everything you possibly could have. And while I know that's not true in the case of Sea of Thieves, the same sights and sounds after a while get old. And to keep those sights and sounds special, and the same encounters, keep those experiences exciting, it's important to diversify my game choice. Where instead of just playing this one singular game, I jump from game to game. Or just simply take a break from the game and rekindle my love for it. This goes into some advice that I'm going to go into a bit more depth later. But I think just after a while of doing absolutely nothing but playing Sea of Thieves, I gotten tired of it. And out of two things going through my mind, one, an act of self-preservation, where I can still play the game, or I'll take a break from the game, so the experiences don't become stale, and so I don't get entirely bored of it. It gets to the point where I never want to return to it, as well as it did go down to boredom, where after a while I just got a little bit tired of the same sights and sounds and experiences and wanted to move on to something else. Nothing against the game, because again, there's still plenty of content I had yet to explore. However, it just felt like sailing and fighting pirate ships over a while just got old. And while I still enjoyed the sessions that I had with friends during this early stage of Burnout, I recognized if I didn't set my own intervention that Sea of Thieves was going to become problematic, so where I would not like to play it anymore. So I decided to take a step back from it. While I was still experiencing plenty of crazy things and still enjoying the game to a certain extent, I did recognize the growing boredom and took that step back that I needed desperately to take. It's important to recognize that. When you feel burnout coming on, it's important to take a break. To step aside and take a moment to calm down and break down what's going on. So that way, you can help self-diagnose the issue as well as begin the process of recovery. Because, again, once you reach full-on burnout, you're not going to want to play that game anymore. And while I haven't reached true burnout, I was starting to develop those feelings where I didn't particularly want to touch the game, both out of self-preservation and boredom. So it's important to recognize that so you can begin the process of healing. Because it could take a while before you rekindle that passion you once had, that love of the game again. It might take time to get back into it. It might take them time for the developers to add in more content to freshen up the experience again. If you truly feel like you've seen everything there is to see. Which again, back to my case, I haven't. But I was just growing tired. Again, doesn't mean I don't like the game. I still adore it. And if I were to make another top 10 list of my favorite games, Sea of Thieves would definitely be up there. Even though I haven't played the game for all that long, 51 hours is still pretty much rookie numbers to a lot of people. It's a fair amount to me. And even in that short amount of time, because I know that's subjective, or objective to some people, or subjective, frick. Whichever of the two terms is the proper one, it's person to person. I've fallen in love with the game. But, again, Burnout hits unexpectedly, and it hits hard. Although there are warning signs. Have you ever been booting up a game that you normally love to play, and then you just feel different about it? You feel you don't feel the same joy you once felt playing the game. That's a sign of burnout. Do you ever, after playing a game for a while, do you find yourself getting bored with it quicker than usual? Where beforehand you can have 5-hour sessions and still want to keep going. Whereas now you're reaching an hour and a half and already wanting to do something else. That's another sign of burnout. It's important, again, to recognize these and self-diagnose these issues so you can start getting yourself back on the mend and start rekindling love for games. And while some games are a one-and-done experience where you'll play through the game and then afterwards it loses its magic or you just simply don't want to play it again, others, if Burnout gets too bad, you might never want to touch again. Or if it's not even... And that's not always a bad thing. Because sometimes you truly have experienced everything there is to experience. Because some games are limited. Games like The Forest. I love the game to death and have recently started playing it again. However, because there's still a handful of things I have yet to see. However, those things are very few. And are kind of tedious to get to. It's going to be a lot of work to find gun parts, for example. And while there's still a lot of building I have yet to do, if my conversation about Minecraft building in my last video didn't give that away, I'm not too great or keen at building in most games. And where The Forest, it's lacking the true flexibility that Minecraft, let's say, had for building. Where, yeah, there are custom blueprints you can make. There are custom houses you can create. But it limits you in the way that there's no true stacked inventory. Where, sure, you can carry some items around with you, but it's realistic. And that's the game's choice, and that's fine. You can't carry logs in your pockets. You can only carry a certain amount of sticks, soda, rope, whatever, before you run out of pocket space. And again, that's fine. However, personally, I felt like that limited me. So if I really wanted to get creative, However, you can get creative. However, your potential for mass producing things is rather slim. Again, adore the game. Just have reached a point where I feel like I've experienced practically everything, and I'm just going back to tie up the handful of loose ends. But as is the case with lots of things, diagnosis is often the first step towards recovery, where you recognize a problem and then you can start working on steps to fix said problem. So, where are we going from here? I did mention earlier that I was going to start listing out some means of recovery from burnout, or prevention even. Well, I have a source for this, which will be linked in the description down below. It is from a YouTuber by the name of Pixelriffs, who is a Minecraft tutorial YouTuber who specializes in just sharing all there is to do in Minecraft. And not just the basic survival tips either. How to set up efficient redstone farms, monster farms, different contraptions, builds, you name it, he's done it. All in survival Minecraft. However, he made one interesting video that was a bit out of the box. He made a video talking about how not to get bored in Minecraft, because that was apparently a question that he was being asked by his viewer base. So he explained it in an interesting Minecraft-related analogy that I'm going to share here. Again, link to his video will be in the description down below, but I truly feel like this analogy, although specifically Minecraft-related, can be applied to any game. Be it Minecraft or Rainbow Six Siege, CSGO, Overwatch, Stardew Valley, The Forest, you name it. This analogy can be applied. And here we go. So in Minecraft, there is a late game item known as the beacon, if you're not in the know. To obtain said item, you need a nether star, which requires you kill one of the game's boss monsters, which are incredibly difficult. And while the wither can be cheesed, it is a difficult fight. However, if you successfully manage to vanquish this foe, you gain a nether star, the key component to creating the beacon, which shines a light up in the air marking a base or important location for future visits, and use what also makes the beacon more powerful and how you even use it to begin with, you need ore blocks. You take pieces of iron, gold, diamonds, emerald, or netherite now, you create solid blocks of them, and then you create sort of a pillar which the beacon will sit on top of. Depending on how many layers you use or the material being used, the beacon's powers will be amplified, because along with providing a spotlight, the beacon also gives players buffs depending on what they choose. That it can have mining haste, speed, jump boost, feather falling. You gain these options as the player. And with a fully upgraded beacon, this radius for all these buffs is amplified drastically. So in order to maximize efficiency, you're going to want to maximize the size of your beacon's little podium. But the way this metaphor works is Pixelriffs explains that it is important as a player to identify the 5 most important aspects of, or the 5 most important aspects of Minecraft or any game to you. What parts of the game do you love the most? And then rank them according to importance to you. The beacon, the top layer, the most valuable layer, that's your favorite thing about the game. So if it's Minecraft, that could be exploration, mining, exploring, fighting. Or if it's Sea of Thieves, in my case, it could be the PvP, island exploration, treasure hunting, skeleton fighting, monster fighting, you name it. Or, let's say Stardew Valley. It could be the story. It could be caving. It could be NPCs, romance, The Sims, house building, family management. You get the picture. You find what's most important to you and then rank them by importance. The beacon itself being the most important, and then the other 4 tiers descending from there, being second favorite, third favorite. You get the idea. Once you get that in mind, you can either do one of two things. You could either continue to do the things you love, or branch out and try something different. Try something that wasn't your top favorite. For Minecraft, let's say for me, because I've spent the last few days thinking about this, my least favorite thing is more than likely redstone. It's just a bit over my head. I don't really understand how it all works. However, it gives me something to think about. It gives me something to mess with, something new to try. And sometimes that's what you need for a game that you might be experiencing some burnout with. Something different. Rather than doing the same thing over and over again, no matter how enjoyable it may be, will eventually become stale. In order to prevent yourself from stagnating, it's a good idea to try something different, to get your mind off of that one thing and expand your horizons. So I'll mess with redstone or focus more on caving in Stardew, or more of the story in Sea of Thieves. Focus on different things so the game doesn't stagnate, so your experience with it stays fresh. That's incredibly important to prevent burnout. Along with it, you also have to get to the point where you realize that you owe no obligation to the game. The game doesn't own you. You own it. And thusly, it doesn't make you play it. You can play whatever you feel like. So like I mentioned earlier about expanding your horizons and trying different things, it's also important to realize that you can do that also with different games. Try something different. Play a different game. Take a break from the one game you might be experiencing burnout or symptoms of burnout, and move on from it. I'm not saying give up on it, but just give it a break for a bit. Try something new. Play a different game. A different genre even. Get your mind out of that one game and onto something different. But just remember, you don't owe the game anything. Even if you have friends who are playing it, and it might be more fun to play with friends. It's also important to recognize, again, you're your own person. And you get to make these calls of what game you want to play and when you want to play it. So don't let yourself, I know I've experienced it, where I feel a sense of obligation to a game that I can't really explain, but I feel like I'm being disloyal to it if I stop and try something else. So instead of falling into that pitfall, recognize that you are in control. You can play something different and do that. Get something new on your mind and get out of the old. Not saying forget about the old or stop playing the old entirely, but just get a healthy mix of things. And maybe also even step out of gaming. Maybe take a break, get another hobby, or mix something else in with gaming. So that way when you jump back into it, the experience still feels exciting because, hey, I'm back in the world of video games. I can do anything. And focus on that. And get that excitement to play again. Again, different things work for different people. Some people could just refocus on different favorite things and then prevent burnout or prolong it for a long period of time. And some people may never experience burnout. I stated earlier how it feels like an inevitability. However, I still see a lot of people who just don't seem to feel it. And that is also plausible and possible. Where you just simply may never experience burnout. And if that's you, that's absolutely phenomenal. Good for you. But it's important also, if you are experiencing burnout or are beginning to experience it, to also broaden your horizons and recognize it. And then do what you can to combat it before it takes over your love of a game. Because no one wants to have their favorite hobby robbed from them, or their favorite game robbed from them. And where you feel like an experience isn't enjoyable anymore, you're being robbed of that joy, of that pleasure. You're being robbed. So it's important to take necessary steps to prevent it, or recover from it. Again, none of this advice is saying stop altogether. However, sometimes finding your own precautionary steps can help you rekindle your love for a game. And also, sometimes it might not. Sometimes you may have lost your love for a game, but that's okay. You'll still have those good memories with it, and you'll still have the experience that you've gained. What have you learned from your experience playing the game? What skills have you picked up? Maybe not practical real-world skills, but maybe some skills for the gaming world itself. Maybe playing FPS games has taught you how to aim better. Or Sea of Thieves or Rust has taught you to always stay on your toes. Or games like Stardew and Minecraft, how to sit down and relax. And how far creativity can go. Always remember that each experience in life, be it games or something practical, it all defines us. It all helps shape us. And not trying to get all philosophical here, but it all impacts us in different ways. It's important to recognize that and to grow from that. So even if we never return to a game, we still will carry the memories and experiences and the friendships even formed along the way. Because as the cheesy kids movie always says, the real treasure were the friends that you made along the way. That saying, as cheesy and corny as it is, oftentimes holds true. And sometimes you can truly form lifelong contacts through even the most simple of means. But in any case, whether it be through the advice given here or through your own methods, I hope you all have at least gained something from this. A step in the right direction in your fight against burnout. Where you'll walk away from this thinking, oh, I'm experiencing symptoms of burnout. I'm experiencing what could be burnout. Or I am actually experiencing burnout. Here's what I should do. Or using that and merging it into your own sort of philosophy of how to counter it. Taking this and then doing what you need to do. Provide your own personal twist to it. Then you'll walk away with this, and say, hey, I know what I need to do now. And here's what I am going to do with the knowledge that I have. But in any case, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this video. And again, I hope something has stuck with you. I hope you all enjoyed. And as always, Maxusthebeast. Oh, by the way, next video will be out in a couple of days from this. It's going to be something. So be sure to keep your eyes checked on either the Discord or have notifications on if you care to. So you'll be notified and aware of this next video, because it's going to be something I don't think you're going to want to miss. Anyway, guys, thanks again for watching, and as always, Maxusthebeast is out. Oh, also, Future Max here. Quick apologies for some of the noises heard in the background, like Discord. Heard in some parts of the video. That was from the World War Z footage. I didn't know about it, and while rolling, just do-do-do-do. So apologies for background noise there. Anyway, thanks again for watching, guys. See ya.